Marfoogle News going live in 95-degree weather in 3, 2. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam aka Marf, and there's a bit to talk about today. In fact, not only with this short video that we're doing right now, but on the show after this, we're going to talk about some really wacky things that are happening right now. Today, we are, of course, going to talk about the ban of Chinese purchases of farmland. This is exactly what people thought was going to happen, especially since it was lining up, again, with the U.S. bases. We'll show you that here in just a minute. But first off, the president is suggesting that if the Mamdani guy wins in New York, which is extreme as far as this guy's views, that he will even suggest taking control of D.C. Now, of course, I think that he is trolling here. But again, President Donald said his administration is considering a federal takeover of Washington, D.C., and has suggested that he would also consider targeting New York City should Democratic candidate Zohran Mamdani win the mayor's race this fall. Now, you may remember we covered Mamdani. He is a rap producer. In fact, I'll just pull up his Wikipedia here. He also was the one that we covered that story about how he was going to target and spend 8 times as much on targeting hate speech. So that was that same gentleman. He was the cladly dressed dude that they have a bunch of shots walking down New York City and pointing at people and going, ha ha. But that's the guy. And again, he is... Mamdani was born in Kampala, Uganda, to an Indian family, to academic Mahmoud Mamdani and filmmaker Mira Nair. So he's got that filmmaker, like kind of Hollywood, or I don't know if that's Hollywood or some other country's Hollywood. But again, you've got that kind of angle there. And what's so weird is when you see these people that rise to power that are set like that are trained to be in these positions, almost all of them have these like weird connections, not only to Hollywood, but to politics or to, the royalty or to, some sort of line, right? A great example recently, we talked about that, the whole sub implosion everybody was talking about because Netflix and others did a documentary about that sub imploding. It's like that guy that, ran that company. Everybody talked about how massively he failed, but not a lot of people talked about, where that guy was from, that guy, his family and the legacy that he had or to uphold. That guy's parents or dad ran that campground that in California where they all go, the rich go and have very secret meetings. It's like, that's pretty crazy. And then his wife was actually related to the Sears or somebody, I forget if it was Sears or some other Macy's, and her grandparents actually perished on the Titanic. So it's like you see that, and nobody even knew that until after he was gone. And it's like there's connections like that. They're always there. With Mamdani, this is pretty extreme. And of course, I think that, the president is trolling. But Tuesday remarks reporters the White House escalated his attacks against the 33-year-old Democratic nominee who the president threatened with arrest, denaturalization, and removal from the country while repeatedly branding him a communist. Says, quote, "I'm not getting involved," the president told reporters during a cabinet meeting, "but I can tell you this. I used to say we will not ever be a socialist country. We'll say it again. We're not going to have it," he continued. "If a communist gets elected to run New York, it can never be the same." Now, remember, he holds New York above many, many places. New York is where his Trump Tower is. New York is his city. There's thousands of videos over the last 30 years of him just walking down New York streets and shaking hands and kissing babies. Like, this dude really, really does have a lot of love for New York. Whether you hate him or you love him, there's no doubt that he is a full New Yorker, right? So for him to see this, a lot of people are comparing this to what has happened to London and different places. So yeah, this is, a lot of folks are actually really, really nervous about a person like this getting in power. What do you guys think? I would love to hear your opinion. And if you have the opposite, let me know what the devil's advocate argument is. Now, before we move on, I would like to remind you guys, make sure to go over and check out EMP Shield. This is our recommendation. If you want to have your car run, your trucks, your motorcycles, your boats, your generators, anything that you want to keep running after an EMP strike from an adversary or a Carrington level event from the sun, then you want to have an EMP Shield on it. This is the same technology and the same company that is working with agencies like DHS, DOD, the DEMSO team helping the Texas grid. So pretty much everywhere in the U.S., if you're in a state, this is most likely going up around you. FBI, again, the Air Force, everybody is using this, and they're quietly protecting themselves, as we know with Katrina, with North Carolina, with now Texas, with many others. The response is usually pretty bad. So if you want to protect yourself against two very, very scary events, then go over to marfooglenews.com/EMP and make sure to use the code MARF to get $50 off and to help our independent channel. Nobody likes ads, but these ads help us keep going. And I'm not like the, we're not the Wikipedia like, oh, to continue, give us $2 more. But this, we actually, with all of our other affiliates, we think will save lives and will end up strengthening the country. So let's bring in my co-internet brother, Dex James. What is going on and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
All right, so the next up on the docket is the U.S. to ban Chinese purchases of farmland, citing national security. Like, this is actually kind of a long time coming. This has been talked about for over a year now, Dex.
Certainly, it's been raised in our community over and over again. It's been talked about from various Congress people, but never has an act passed. But now the U.S. Department of Agriculture Chief Brooke Rollins announced Tuesday that the U.S. government will move to ban the sales of farmlands nationwide to buyers tied to China and other foreign adversaries, citing threats to national security and food security. So it's an effort that casts uncertainty over property currently held by Chinese, China-linked investors. So as for the U.S. government would seek to take back the existing land owned by the Chinese investors, and Rollins says they're looking at every available option as part of a clawback effort that an executive order from the White House will probably follow very soon. Now, she was talking today at the roundtable or the cabinet, the public cabinet meeting that the president held, which he's probably done about 6 or 7 of these now. Very transparent, at least much more than we've seen with any other president. But she held up the whole map and said, "Look at this map. Look at all these locations where the farmland is bought, and look at the dots here. This is where the U.S. bases are, and all the farmland is right near the U.S. Military bases." And drew attention to that.
What's absolutely stupid, and Dr. Phil showed him this map before he won the second time. He went on a special with Dr. Phil, and Dr. Phil put this down on the table, and he said, "Hey, have you seen this?" Now, I don't know if the president really didn't know it, or he's just pretending like, "Oh yeah, that is interesting," because he couldn't say much. But he was shown on TV. He was shown on prime time. So as far as that goes, it was like, this isn't something that he could really avoid. It was going to be out there in the zeitgeist that he was shown it, right? So as far as this goes, this is something that is really, really fits. We're not connecting crazy dots here. There are so many events, from them finding radios in our actual grid technology that supersede any kind of firewalls in our grid, the infrastructure being infiltrated, our water supply, everything has been infiltrated by China. As far as everybody is looking at Iran, everybody is looking at Russia. Meanwhile, China, people don't care about because they think, oh, well, if they do take Taiwan, that's not my backyard. But this is something that would change the world. If China took Taiwan, they would not only take Taiwan, they would take that huge chunk of the world, of the water, of the oceans, and they would control it. Control equals power. And China is, of course, number 2. And a lot of folks think that they will never be number 1, but you never underestimate your enemy. And I don't think that they are. And I think that the U.S. is now placing themselves and sitting themselves up to basically fight China, have help, and have, of course, supplies going out to NATO. But NATO is going to be dealing with Russia, because Russia, Iran, Cuba, even South Africa, I believe, and North Korea, all of it's going to pop off at the same time. Venezuela and Guyana, all of these are going to pop off at the same time to separate and to spread out the U.S. military as far as they possibly can. And that's the only way that they could possibly even make a dent in us, because we are a really badass country. We have a badass military. But as far as this goes, if you have a plan, and if you really think about a plan like this, Dex, think about this. Like, why would they buy this farmland? And this is CCP directly connected, entities buying this farmland. Why would they buy it right by bases? They could have one or two spies actually look at, what's going on the base. What would be the purpose of that? And could that be used for training troops? Like later on, if over the last 4 years, we had tens and tens of thousands, this crazy number come in that was just absurdly unaccounted for. And it jumped in a year. It just went nuts. And it's like those people, we don't know where they are still. They're saying that they're deporting all these people. Why? Why do we have the Golden Dome? Why are we doing this? Why is our southern border locked down like we are now building a prison? Dex, you know what I mean? Like, what would they be doing with this farmland other than that?
Yeah, it's a great question to ask, and they should be investigating what's actually happening on the farmland. Is it actually being farmed? Who's on it? Who's running it? Is it Chinese immigrants, or is it just investors who put their money in and nothing else is really happening at the moment? But, I think it's worth looking into, and it's definitely a good question as to why are they right next to the bases.
Yeah, I would love to hear your opinions on this. Please, in the comments down below, put what you think about this, and understand that we've been covering this ever since the inception of it. Before Dr. Phil showed it to the president, our community was digging this stuff up. This community and my peers' communities, they caught stuff right away. When this was all happening, I mean, it was on X before, any of the primetime pundits talked about it. And if you really look at this, it is something that really needs to be paid attention to. This fits into a much bigger picture. And there are people that go, oh yeah, that's just a distraction, that's propaganda. But understand that this is lowest priority in people's minds. If it's lowest priority in people's minds, that means whatever, psyops and propaganda that they're doing is working. China specializes in trying to reduce talk about China and maximize talk about everybody else. Understand they are one of the only countries with over what was it, Dex? Was it 1 million? It wasn't 1 billion. It was 1 million man army in a cyber aspect. Is that correct? Like fake people online.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's insane. So you have, not only that, you have these phone farms and things like that, but they have actual people, soldiers, that their whole job is to say, if somebody does an opinion, they can ratio it. And what do you think? If you see a ratio and somebody says, hey, I think this is true, and they have 1,000 people saying that's BS and 3 people saying that's yes, what do you think most people are going to believe? They're not going to go, oh, I think it's true. I'm going to agree with the 3 people, not the 1,000 random people that I think are real people. So they can control the narrative with that online, with that talk. So it's very, very crazy what's going on. And then we have U.S. troops on the ground in L.A., Immigration Enforcement Operation DOD says. So, with all of these events happening at the same time, it is crazy how our border is locked up right now. It's crazy we have battalions. It's crazy we have 4 destroyers down there. And now it's crazy that we have basically a repelling invasion order down on the southern border to keep everyone out. And for them to respond like this is pretty crazy. Dex, do you want to talk about what they are doing in Los Angeles?
Yeah, heavily armed border agents and U.S. troops descended on MacArthur Park in Los Angeles yesterday afternoon. It was part of an immigration raid. The operation included 90 armed troops and 17 military Humvees. According to the mayor there, it displaced a summer camp who said, and she said the only point of the operation was to have a political agenda provoking fear and terror, of course. But yeah, everybody in California, the politicians in California are using this to stoke negativity, but the administration is saying, and the military is saying, hey, we're here to protect the federal law enforcement because they're the ones getting targeted. They're the ones getting attacked, and they can't do their job. So they brought in military to back them up should something happen to them.
Yeah. So, and with this, the one thing that people worry about is if there's a scuffle, or if they're not supposed to do certain actions because they're there for strictly security and for logistical stuff. And it's like you have one accident and then all of a sudden you have headlines across the planet that this all got way out of hand. So hopefully that does not happen. I'm praying that everything goes smoothly in our entire country right now, especially after the last couple days with all of the horrible events that have happened in Indiana, all of the horrible events that are happening in Texas, and right now, New Mexico, or is it New Mexico or Mexico? Radusa, there's crazy flooding going on. I mean, flash flooding out of nowhere. And again, there's a lot of folks that have lost their lives in the last 3 days. So I'm really praying that we have a better next week. So thank you, everybody in chat. Thank you, Jake Malone, Rashid, Laura144. Hopefully you guys stay in the chat. Aaliyah, thank you for modding. Make sure to thank your mods in chat for being awesome and keeping the peace. And then make sure to follow us. If you're in the chat, just stay there. You'll be ported over to our next show in just a couple seconds. And then if you are watching the replay, if you want to see the full breakdown on everything else, this show is coming up next. Troops in Los Angeles. We're going to talk about this and much, much more over on Marfoogle TV. We'll see you in just a minute. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out.